in terms of ensuring that you comply to the work we have to do and the obligation each and every public representative have towards the electorate of South Africa. So for the Portfolio Committee on Police, I do want to say she was dedicated, she was committed to transparency, and she was a hard worker. Of course, she's a politician, and I know that we will have an opportunity in the National Assembly. Therefore, I'm going to stay with what I have said, and it is quite relevant to this committee. My sincere
happy, insisting in taking photos and everything. And I think we will remember her and cherish the moments that we had. The last photo that we took with her was during the budget vote, where she, I don't know, for some reason, she calls that photo a historic photo. If we will remember those who were with her when she was wearing her orange outfit, very colorful. She called it an historic photo, and that is now what after all that has happened. It is indeed a historic photo, and we will love and cherish your memories always. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Marekwa. Any other member? Honorable Peacock.
Thank you, Ntate Seabe. Let me also take this opportunity really to appreciate
So I want to, on behalf also of the ACDP and all those who knew him, to knew her, sorry, to convey my sincere condolences, and it is our wish and prayer that the Lord will heal all those whose hearts are still bleeding and comfort their souls. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mishwe. I can't see any other hand of honorable members. Let me move to the ministry. Honorable Minister.
Thanks, Chair. I've been really struggling this morning, but I'm here. I hope to stay. Chair, we're talking about more uppermost with the mother, or I was talking about the mother of the lovable two sons to her, a very close family, a very warm family to the sons, and looks like that has been always the first prize, even far beyond the work about the sons. We were speaking to the sister, to other people, and we were speaking to the member of the community where she comes from, and we talk of the history of a young activist growing among her comrades and the people around that Northern Cape. We talk about a person that we have been around together for a very, very long time, Chairperson. And indeed, you talk about the chairperson, the activist, and you talk about a public representative, as I will fully agree, that has been said by almost all members, that he took his job, his work very serious, and he wanted everybody online. It's a pity that so much, even before the final day of her departure, final departure, it's a pity that so many things are put on public. So I listened to that discussion yesterday of certain media briefing and things and all that. We hope those things will really, I hope will really wait and give the space to those that are really mourning the loss of a close mother, a close sister, a relative, comrade, the colleagues, and the people that you worked with, and the staff and ourselves. I hope that space would have been given, but it does look like there is no space given. It's a killer. It's a killer punch to sit and listen to those things and what people say and all that. I agree with Honorable Terra-Plache that the investigations are going on. If we give that space, all of us to know what really happened, and it will help the family, but also help us what happened. For now, I think we need to soldier on, to go on. No doubt she will be missed. Sometimes she will be a really, really tough nut to work with within this working environment, by the way, as a government, as a member of parliament, but outside it, as in the organization itself, it would be sometimes a very hard nut to crack on the bodies, other bodies that we worked with outside this body. She will be sorely missed, and may her soul rest in peace and give us extra energy to proceed and do better on all objectives and the outcomes that we wanted to achieve. May her soul rest in peace. Thanks, Chairperson.
Thanks very much, Comrade Minister. Comrade DM.
No, thanks, Chair. Good morning to you. Good morning to members, and good morning, Minister, National Commissioner, Acting Secretary. national head of DPCI, executive director. It's a sad day, Chair, for the passing of the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee and a member of the National Executive Committee of the African National Congress and of the National Working Committee. A dedicated member of the organization and a dedicated member of this committee. Tina was an activist of note. I have known her for quite some time while she was still in the Northern Cape as an MEC and ultimately becoming a member of the National Executive Committee of the ANC and serving our people and our country in different capacities within the executive. And now when she passed on, we dropped the ball, but it was a wonderful experience. What a soul. I know that she was very close to her sons, extremely, and she acted like a mother. She will do. It's a loss to them, and I think they are going through a difficult moment. They need our support and prayers, and we should do so. They are going through a difficult moment, but they should know that we are with them. We share their pain because it is also a pain that we felt due to the fact that we worked very, very close with Comrade Tina. And I think through her, we were able to manage a lot of difficult moments within the committee. I think members will agree with me that sometimes she had the ability to drive all of us into a direction that she felt the committee must take, of course, which was for the best interest of the National Assembly. And she did an excellent job as a chair. I think members have already said here that she will take us head on as a department if we drop the ball. But she was doing all these things for us to progress on the work that we are doing. But thanks, Chair, I know time will not allow us to talk more about this giant, this revolutionary, this leader of our movement. We don't have enough time this morning to really talk about who she is and the contribution that she made to South Africa that we are living in today, and we still expected more from her. But however, moving on untimely as it happened, may her soul rest in peace and rise in glory. This is the path of everybody. We will follow her as well. We are not going to be permanent on this earth. But thanks, Chair, for giving me an opportunity to say a word. I know the minister spoke on behalf of the ministry, and it's uncharacteristic of me to speak after he has done so because he represented us. But it's a personal matter because of how we related with Comrade Tina, I had to say what I've said here. May her soul rest in peace. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, DM. Maybe before I call the National Commissioner, I have a request that the representative of the Human Rights Commission will be joining another meeting in 10 minutes. Can you allow me to bring him in? It's Reverend Nissen. You are welcome, Reverend. You can say your words.
Good morning, Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, Mr. Minister, Deputy Minister, colleagues and friends, and in particular the family of our late sister Tina Joemat, her children and her siblings. Please accept, together with the staff of the office, accept our deepest condolences. Thank you for this opportunity on behalf of the Human Rights Commission to convey to you as the Portfolio Committee, the Department of Police and its related institutions and the family, our deepest condolences. I met the late Honorable Tina Joemat in the 80s when she came to Easter River, Mfuleni in the Cape, where we worked together, at that time, very difficult time, mid-80s, just around post the state of emergency, around issues about in squatter camps, evictions, water disconnect, winter and summer. We worked together and with lots of intellectual debate. Sometimes we discuss as a flag of her contribution, and then as a descendant of the beautiful village of Elam, she then went off to the Northern Cape, and as the Cape, we said, well, good luck to you, and we really appreciate that what you have been doing in the Northern Cape. And Mr. Minister, one of her passions that she wants a training college from the Human Rights Commission preventive mechanism. We've been with the Portfolio Committee chair then, by the Honorable late Tina Joemat. And I remember during the COVID time, the passion she had around the homeless people coming with us, going to those places where people were kept and so on. So yes, we salute her for that. But also she never called me by any other name, as the minister does. She always called me Mfundisi. And I'd like to give from a priest. During my days, we studied liberation theology, and I marveled Latin America. There was a priest in El Salvador. He was a bishop, and his name was Dom Helder Camara. Whoever stands up for the oppressed, whoever speak on behalf of the voiceless, whoever stand up and speak against those who denies the voice of the poor. Wherever they die, whether it's in the trenches in combat, whether it's an accident on the road, whether it's in bed, wherever they die, those stood up for the poor and the oppressed. Those are martyrs. And I'd like Tina Joemat, our spear and our flag in the blood of our martyrs. And let's continue serving the poor, defending the oppressed, defending the vulnerable, and make sure the legacy that we want to leave for Tina Joemat is that one that will dip our spear in the blood of the martyrs and continue to work to make South Africa a better place, a safer place, and a place that our children and our children's children can be proud of us. To all of you colleagues that have worked with the late Tina Joemat, and to the family, we say, let us be proud. And as the minister says, close our ears. And that those who say anything, let them look at their own hands. But to God be the glory. May our sister, your mother, your colleague, your comrade, our comrade, rest in eternal peace, and may God send her back as an angel to guide over her children and her siblings. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thanks very much, Reverend. Thanks very much. We know that you are deployed somewhere outside the country, but we really appreciate you having taken some time off your busy schedule to deliver the condolences on behalf of the Human Rights Commission. Thanks very much. National Commissioner, General Masemula.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, and good morning to you and the honorable members of the committee. Good morning to the Minister of Police, the Deputy Minister of Police, National Head of DPCI, Acting Secretary, the ED, and all colleagues. On this somber morning, allow me to start off by paying tribute to the late Chairperson of this Police Portfolio Committee, Ms. Joemat-Pettersson, on a sudden and untimely death. We say condolence to the family, especially the boys, friends, colleagues, and all men and women in blue. We will remember the late Chairperson for her oversight role, holding us officials accountable in the execution of our constitutional mandate. We will remember the late Chairperson recently crisscrossing the country, conducting oversight visits at police stations, service points, and including our training centers. Ms. Joemat-Pettersson's mission was always to ensure that service delivery is enhanced and improved at all our service points. We will surely miss her guidance and support as we continue with the journey of making South Africa a much safer and better place to live in. During a large oversight visit to one of our facilities last month, the late Chairperson led a team to Kimberley, Pretoria, at our frontline centers, including the training academies. It is during these visits where the Chairperson appreciated the sub-strategy to ensure more boots on the ground, both the crime-fighting initiatives, as well as strategies in place to prevent and combat crime. We hail the late Chairperson for a contribution in ensuring that police execute our mandate for the benefit of keeping communities safer. Her oversight role in holding us accountable remain etched in our hearts and minds for a long time to come. We will miss her guidance and support in our journey to make South Africa a better place to live on. May her soul rest in peace. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, National Commissioner. Thanks very much. Acting Secretary, Mr. Amaru.
Good morning, Chairperson, honorable members, Minister, Deputy Minister of Police, heads of entities, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. The Civilian Secretariat for Police Service joins the country in mourning the untimely passing of Ms. Tina Joemat-Pettersson, the Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Police. We wish to extend our deepest condolences to her family and friends, her organization, African National Congress, Parliament, in particular the Portfolio Committee on Police, and the staff in her office, and to the people of South Africa at large for this great loss. Ms. Joemat-Pettersson had executed her responsibilities as a chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Police with zeal, passion, and great commitment. Without fail, Ms. Pettersson had ensured departments in her portfolio were held accountable for the work entrusted to us. She was firm and never hesitated to point out to all our failures or missteps that put the service delivery to the people of South Africa at risk. Equally, Ms. Joemat-Pettersson was quick to express appreciation whenever it was deserved. Ms. Pettersson served her country with dedication and diligence, and always underpinned the execution of her oversight role in policing, with the need to ensure that communities were at the center of all our collective efforts. To that end, Ms. Joemat-Pettersson became the great proponent of the resourcing and empowerment of the community police forums. It was in this portfolio committee where she directed both the Civilian Secretariat for Police Service and the SAPS to ensure that there is funding for the resourcing of the CPFs before our budgets could be considered. We remain internally grateful for exemplary leadership in the Portfolio Committee on Police, to which we account as a department. Their service and contribution to the nation will never be forgotten. Our prayers and support are with her family, colleagues, and loved ones during this difficult time. May her soul rest in eternal peace. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thanks very much for your kind words, Acting Secretary. Executive Director, IPID.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good morning to the Minister, to the Deputy Minister, as well as honorable members of the Portfolio Committee. IPID would like to send its heartfelt condolences to the Pettersson family, as well as the members of the Portfolio Committee. We have really lost a stalwart, I must say. We've lost a person who was guiding us throughout as IPID. And I remember her during her role when she was doing an oversight role over us. She was very hard on us, but that was done in the name of service delivery as well as accountability. But very soft when it comes to advising. I remember her during the Kenya debate, in as much as she was very hard, but she also guided during the Kenya debate. And she also advised us outside this role. I really admired her for that, to say, don't take it personal, take it that you need to improve on the work that you are expected to do. She also believed in women empowerment, because she kept on saying, Edie, you need to really level up as a woman. You can't be complacent. This is a different world. This law enforcement environment, you need to level up. So try by all means to make sure that you deliver as expected by us. She was always advising and also giving us some inputs, and where she realizes that we are not leading, she would become very hard and lambasted us. But we'll always miss that role. We will always miss her loud voice when scolding us in the Portfolio Committee. But may her soul repose in peace and rise in glory. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thanks very much for your kind words, Executive Director. General Dr. Leweya, on behalf of the Hawks.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Good morning, and good morning to the honorable members, the Minister of Police, the Deputy Minister of Police, the National Commissioner of the South African Police Service, the Executive Director, the Acting Civilian Secretariat for Police, my colleagues in the August House. Let me, on behalf of the Directorate for Priority Crime Investigation, first pass our heartfelt condolences to the family and friends, as well as the colleagues of the Honorable late Madam Joemat-Pettersson. Chairperson, you know, when something is about to be happening, there are always certain activities that happens that you realize afterwards, or was this a message that was being sent to us? I have observed a happy mood during the budget speech, as properly expressed by the Honorable Maregwa. You know, the happy mood that she demonstrated, even time before that, when something of this nature happens, we always recall those memories. Indeed, asking for photos and all those laughing sessions that she have brought in to those who were around her. I also had an opportunity to listen her on 2 occasions on her request. And she shared some of her dreams. I knew that in the political space, she was high in terms of the numbers, which one expected that she may also be back in Parliament. But she shared with me that she will not be back in Parliament. There is a dream that she shared with me. One is just remembering what type of message was that. Most of her activities, she was doing them with openness. One appreciate even the guidance that she was given. I have observed her even the moment when she started looking at the things of legacy as if she's now closing the chapter. You know, she goes back to 2016, trying to check as to whether everything that needed to be done has been done. May her soul rest in peace. Thank you very much, Chairperson and honorable members, and the Minister, Deputy Minister, the National Commissioner, and the colleagues.
Thanks very much, Doctor. Thanks very much for your kind words. Sarah?
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. This is Matlo Sibukudi. I'm the acting director. The director is traveling abroad. Good morning, Minister. Good morning, Deputy Minister, and everybody on board. On behalf of SIRA, the Council and the leadership, we are saddened by the untimely death of Honorable Chair Metina Joemat-Pettersson. On behalf of the private security industry, we hereby convey our heartfelt condolences to her family, friends, comrades, and colleagues. As a private security industry, we'll always remember her as a progressive chairperson, decisive, dedicated, and hardworking chairperson. We will miss her guidance and wisdom. As a private security, we would like to convey our message to the Joemat family. We want to thank them for sharing the life of their mom with us and South Africa at large. And we would want to say, may her soul rest in peace and rise in glory. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks very much. Thanks all for those words of condolences. I guess they will be recorded and they'll remain in the archives of this institution. Let me also join you all She was a leader who was passionate about her work. Of course, she was a human being, and sometimes she would commit mistakes like all of us. But when corrected, she was quick to accept her mistakes and accept the corrections. She loved herself, as we all know. She loved her body. And I want to join the rest of you colleagues in saying condolences to the family, condolences to her son. May her soul rest in peace and rise in glory. We are now on item 7 that deals with the minutes, adoption of minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes. A meeting held on the 30th and the 31st. You remember that on the 30th, we were receiving crime stats, and on the 31st, it was a normal portfolio committee meeting. Can we, Babalwa, can we flight the minutes of the 30th? There it is, page 1. Yes, page 2, page 3.
Chairperson, sorry, can we just go to the list again of the names? There's just something that I want to raise there quickly, sorry. The member Tarabella, it's a woman and she's indicated as Mr. It's not Mr.
Can that be corrected? Right. Next page. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. I think that's the last page. The meeting adjourned at 15 minutes past 9. Can I get a move? Are there corrections? Further corrections? Can I get a mover for the adoption of the minutes with that correction?
Thank you, Chairperson. Move for the adoption of the minutes with correction. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Malekwa. Honorable Marekwa.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to second the minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Marekwa. Is there an alternative view? Thank you. Minutes adopted. Can we have the minutes of the 31st? Minutes of the 31st, there is an agenda, adoption of the agenda, apologies, page 1, page 2. I hope this time it is well captured, the name of Honorable Arabella. Page 3. page 4, page 5, there it is, page 6. The meeting adjourned at 11:15. Are there corrections, amendments? Can I get a mover for the adoption of the minutes as a true reflection?
Thank you, Chairperson. I move for the adoption of the minutes.
Thank you. Honorable Peacock, moving for the adoption. Honorable Mareko, I see your hand.
Yes, Chair, was to move, but let me second again. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mareko. Any alternative view? Thanks very much. The minutes of the 31st also adopted. Is there a matter arising which is a serious concern that honorable members would like to raise? I think in future we'll deal with matters arising differently. Any matter arising from the two sets of minutes? Nothing. Thanks very much. We're done with item 8. We're now on item 9. We want to try by all means, colleagues, that if possible, without rushing anything, without compromising the discussions, and see whether we can't finish our meeting by 12. There are those who have already indicated that they'll be leaving by 12. I know there's also a memorial service in honor of the chairperson.
Recording in progress.
Which will start at 12. So I'm just saying, pleading that if we're business-like, we can make it, but we should not compromise the quality of the meeting. But now on item 9, 9.1, briefing by the Directorate for Priority Crime Investigation and Independent Police Investigative Directorate on progress made with regard to investigations resulting from the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into allegations of state capture. Honorable Minister, you can introduce the item.
Chair, as you have said, one would not like to take much time except handing over. When it comes to DPCI, I'll hand over to the National Commissioner to introduce the head, and that it will be followed by the executive stroke. I guess the Secretariat will have something to say on this one, but specifically the executive will deal with those 9.1. So it will be the Hawks, the executive director, that will be 9.1, and will progress as we're instructed by the chair to other points. Therefore, I will hand over to the National Commissioner and the head of the Hawks. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Minister. National Commissioner.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members. Without wasting time, Honorable Chair, I will allow General De Beer to take us through on the cases that are being investigated by the Directorate. One would be aware that some of these cases are handled by the ID, which is the Independent Directorate of the NPA. So we are only handling part of the cases, even though those that are on that side initially were with us and were taken over by them. So let me hand over to General Levia to take us through. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, National Commissioner. Doctor.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable members, the Minister of Police, the Deputy Minister, the National Commissioner, the Executive Director, as well as the Acting Civilian Secretariat, my colleagues. Chairperson, may I indicate that the DPCI is appearing before this August House in compliance with the provisions of Section 17, capital letter K in bracket 1 of the South African Police Service Act 68 of 1995 as amended in 2008 by the South African Police Service Amendment Act 57 of 2008. As I speak today, our members at head office are currently sitting in the memorial service of one of our colleagues who was unfortunately killed in the course of duty in a Lusaga settlement in the eastern side of Mamelodi. He will be buried over the weekend. During the process, also 3 of the suspects were also killed, and rifles 2 as well as 4 pistols were seized from this criminal grouping. I must say that one of those gang members has been captured and he appeared in court, tried to apply for bail, but he decided to abandon the bail, so he will be coming again on the 4th of August 2023. Probably he will face 4 counts of murders. That is the murder of our colleague, as well as the murder of the core perpetrators, the 3 core perpetrators who were involved in this. 2 of the suspects that we only know as Guava and Gabelo are still on the run, and we are looking for those. We call upon the public who knows where they might be hiding to remind them to safely hand them over so that they come and assist us in understanding why they had to do this. Chairperson, with regard to the presentation on the screen, is the progress on the matters that emanate from the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into the allegation of state capture. I will request to go over to the next slide. In the next slide, Chairperson, is just an introduction indicating the purpose of this presentation to the Portfolio Committee on these matters that we are investigating as the DPCI. The presentation, obviously, when one look at this particular slide, is a legend which shows that there are matters that are on the court roll already. There are matters that are pending decision by the National Prosecuting Authority. There are also matters that are under investigation as police case dockets. And there are inquiries that are still under investigation. Those inquiries might at some stage be turned into a police docket when we have got sufficient evidence to take them forward. There is already some finalized matters, which are 2. With regard to those matters that are on the court roll, there are 19 natural persons that have been arrested, which is reflected on the screen, as well as 8 juristic persons. May I indicate that this slide will be updated because the number of cases on the court roll are actually 5. So that 4 at the top will now be changed to 5. And then at the bottom, where we are talking about the number of natural persons arrested, it will become 20, which means that we have added 1 matter. So in total will be 5 matters that are on the court roll. Moving to the next slide, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members. In this slide, we are just indicating the cases that are pending at court, which are on the court roll. The first of these cases is the one in the Department of Transport that is happening in the Northwest. In this matter, we have got 7 accused persons that are being charged. 4 are natural persons and 3 are entities. So the matter is currently on the court roll. We are just waiting for the hearing dates to start. Otherwise, all the investigation is completed. So that matter is on the court roll. The main suspect in that regard is Mr. Van Wyk. In the second matter, it is in the Free State. This one is normally known as the asbestos matter. And in that matter, we have got 18 accused persons appearing. 13 of these are natural persons. 5 are juristic persons. So this particular matter addresses 13 of the recommendations from the commission. The next matter is the Passenger Rail Agency, PRASA. There are 2 cases in this matter, and both the accused are natural persons. The one that I have not included here, which I said that I will be adding, is an individual who, when you are supposed to appear before the commission, he did not, so he negated the subpoenas that the commission shall have given. And in that regard, he is being prosecuted in contravention of the commission's act. So he is still making representation to the prosecuting authority that they should consider not to prosecute him. But that is the matter that I say will be added on this list. Moving to the next slide, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members. In this slide, we just unpack slightly the overview of cases that we say are under investigation. It can be seen that there are 2 cases that are handled there in the Free State, Department of Human Settlement. These matters, one can see that they addresses 14 of the recommendations that have been brought forward by the State Capture Commission. Already one can see the work that has been deposited into this investigation. More than 1,000 statements have already been recorded and filed in the dockets. As I've indicated, one of those is already on the court roll, and the other one we are almost closed for finalization. We expect that a decision will be made soon on that matter. In the second one is the Passenger Rail Agency. That we address 16 recommendations from the State Capture Commission report. Already, one can see the work that has been deposited in that investigation. More than 700 statements have already been recorded. And then the next one is the ESCOM matter, 5 matters in ESCOM. There is some few statements that have already been recorded. In Bosasa matter, there are 9 recommendations that we are looking at. In this regard, there are 11 statements that have already been recorded. May I pause a moment and indicate that the honorable members may recall that during the time when the State Commission was running its course of taking evidence from witnesses, there were already arrests that were taking place. And I think one of the witnesses that was testifying, we allowed that particular witness to complete the testimony and thereafter effected arrest. So there were already arrests that were effected in this matter, but the matter is currently not with us. It is with the ID, the investigating directorate in the NPA, as they shall have declared, which I shall indicate in the slide that follows, that some of the matters that we were dealing with were ultimately declared by the investigating directorate to be the matters that they want to deal with. In the one that follows is the EOH Holdings Pty Limited. In that we are dealing with 2 recommendations. Already there are 10 statements that we have recorded. Other matters relating to the SAA, there are 3 matters with base statements that have been obtained. In the Department of Transport, we have got 1, already 3 statements recorded. In the Transnet environment, we have got 1 matter. And in the SSA, we have got 18 recommendations that we are looking at, where 11 case dockets were opened and already 62 statements were recorded in this regard. Honorable members, as it can be observed, more than 2,000 statements have already been obtained, and we are continuously doing this. Moving to the next slide, it's just a hint on the cases that have been finalized. In this regard, in the Free State, there has been one matter of housing, Free State housing project, where an accused person, Moses Mpogift Mugwena, was charged in terms of that case of November 2021. The prosecution by the National Prosecuting Authority of Mr. Moses Mpogift Mugwena, who was the head of the Department of Human Settlement in the Free State in 2010 and the early 2021, for contravention of the Public Finance Management Act as amended, and the contravention of Section 34 of the PRECA. That is what the case is all about. Based on that prosecution, the accused was convicted on 1 count of contravention of the Public Finance Management Act, as well as 1 count of the contravention of Section 34 of the PRECA. Members will recall that this particular section compels certain office bearers to report to the Hawks whenever they come across contravention of certain offenses where the amount involved is not less than 100,000 rand. In return for this conviction, the court returned the sentence of 10 years imprisonment which is suspended for 5 years on count 1, and 5 years imprisonment, which is suspended for 5 years on count 2. So the sentences are suspended. Coming to the next one that has already been finalized, this one was dealing with Madam Muyeni. That was a case that was registered in 2020 November. The honorable members will recall that during the presentation of evidence before the commission shall have directed that we call Mr. X, Mr. X, and we don't reveal the identity of Mr. X. But the allegation was that the accused person decided to disclose the identity of Mr. X during the delivering of testimony before the State Capture Commission. As a result, the accused person was convicted, and in return, the court returned a sentence of a fine of 120,000 rands, or 2 years imprisonment, half of which is suspended for 5 years. So those are the cases that have already been concluded at court. Coming to the next slide. In this slide, we may move to the next slide. Coming to this slide, we just indicate that we are not working alone in dealing with matters emanating from the State Commission recommendations. There are recommendations that the Commission said that the law enforcement agencies must deal with these matters. And the law enforcement agencies have to study and consider as to whether it's necessary to pursue the investigation further. In doing this, the investigating directorate in the NPA was established specifically to deal with the matters coming from the recommendations of various commissions. And therefore, the recommendations emanating from the State Capture Commission have first to be considered by the ID, and once they have decided which matters they are taking, we take those that they have not taken. In this regard, as the capacity of the investigating directorate is not sufficient, or they still have to build that, and also understanding that they shall have requested or declared some of the investigation from us, which are 140 cases that we were already investigating, which they decided that they would like to investigate those matters. We allowed them to do that. We also assigned on duty arrangements 15 experienced investigators to go and assist the investigating directory. Some of them are advocates, some of them titles of doctor. So they are experienced investigators that we have assigned to go and assist the investigating directorate. Initially, we have assigned them for 3 years, which was to expire by the 31st of August this year. But with the understanding that the work will not be completed by that time, we have agreed to extend that period until 2025, with the understanding that the ID shall have built its capacity to be able to deal with matters in its space on its own. So that is the 15 investigators that we have allowed as duty arrangements to operate there in the investigating directorate. We still provide them with the resources, vehicles, and the like. The DPCI is also collaborating with the National Prosecuting Authority through what we call the task force, where all these matters are coordinated. We work together to ensure that all the recommendations regarding law enforcement agencies are coordinated. So the task force is mandated to ensure prioritization of matters, which will ensure that those matters that are low-hanging fruit are quickly placed before the court roll, which I think the NPA shall have indicated, those matters that have been put on the court roll, which I will not talk to those. Other recommendations of criminal investigation are obviously dealt with by the investigating directorate. In the slide that we shall have been seeing, we haven't edited the name of the ID. It still reflects as a investigative directorate. We needed to be saying investigating directorate. So it's a typing error that we corrected at a later stage. Coming to the next slide is just an indication of the establishment of a task team that we have put together in the DPCI, those matters that I say that the DPCI is dealing with to ensure that they receive the necessary attention. We created a task team. We took experienced investigators from different provinces and established a team of 20 members. These members are led by senior officers who have got experience, operational capacity. They prioritize this investigation and the work is on course. Of course, as we will know that most of our matters that are in the DPCI space are priority. We continuously build on the capacity to enhance what we already have so that the gaps that are there with regard to the numbers can improve. In conclusion, I need to be saying that the DPCI shall at all times enforce the law of the Republic without fear, favor, or prejudice, and as the laws of this country, including the Constitution, dictate. Thank you very much, honorable members and the ministers. I submit.
Thank you, General. National Commissioner.
Thanks, Honorable Chair. That is basically our presentation. Thank you very much on the specific agenda point.
Chair, I think the next one will be what has been done by the IPID vis-a-vis the Commission. Through your permission, Chair, the Executive Director will take over.
Executive Director.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. I will proceed. I am going to ask our chief investigator on the cases to then present.
Executive Director, seemingly you have two gadgets close to each other. That's why there's an echo. If you can just separate them.
Yes,
let them...
yes, I've separated them. Thank you very much. So we are going to request that the presentation be uploaded.
This is Babalo. May I please get the sharing powers?
You will check. Thank you very much. I am now handing over to the Chief Investigator, Mr. Kanye. Over to you, Mr. Kanye.
Thank you, Edie. Thank you, Honorable Minister, Deputy Minister, esteemed members of the Portfolio Committee, and the National Commissioner of the South African Police Service. Our presentation is short and focused on three aspects that I will outline during the presentation, which emanates from the three-day investigation that was conducted by the Commission and referred to the Executive Director so that an independent investigation can be conducted. So the first slide speaks to the purpose, background, the status of the investigation into the Judicial Commission of Inquiry, and the conclusion. The purpose is to inform the esteemed Portfolio Committee members about the progress of IPID's investigation, and also to provide progress in the implementation of the President's response plan as requested by Cabinet. Our background, Minister and the members of the Portfolio Committee, is as follows. On the 5th of September 2022, the Executive Director received an email communique from the Deputy Director General of Department of Justice, informing her of the recommendations of the Judicial Commission of Inquiry of matters that should be investigated by IPID. In essence, the Executive Director was being informed that there are certain matters that the Commission would like her to investigate and provide feedback in order to assist the President in his response to Cabinet. Subsequent to that, the Executive Director appointed a task team to focus on the recommendation by the Commission report, and the Directorate commenced with its investigation on the 13th of September 2022. Subsequent to the appointment of the task team, a detailed investigative plan was drafted and approved by the Executive Director so that we can start with our investigation. As we start with the investigation, we then have to divide the investigation. So the first part of the investigation, which we call the first phase of investigation, was primarily about information collecting, gathering, identification of witnesses and victims. This would then assist us in identifying and making sure, and also to pave the way on how we're going to conduct our investigation. So we had to make sure that we do a proper collection of information. We gather it together. We gather the data that we have. We started identifying witnesses and the victims. The next slide, which is also the continuation of the background. So in swing from the State Capture Report and recommendations of the Judicial Commission of Inquiry, we noted that the President submitted his response to Parliament on the 22nd of October 2022. On the 15th December 2022, IPID also received a letter from the Director General in the Presidency. When I started, I indicated that we received, the first letter came from the Deputy Director General with the same information. And on the 15th, there was a letter again that was received by the ED. And the contents and the purpose of the letter was to again draw IPID's attention of its inclusion in the President's response of matters which falls within its mandate. The matters referred to IPID in the letter from the Director General in the Presidency are contained in the State Capture Report, Part 6, Volume 1, on page 90, 93, and 94. As I continue with background, there were 3 recommendations arising from the Commission's investigation into Free the Farm project in the Free State, like I indicated. So you would see in our presentation that we're going to divide our presentation into three categories. The recommendations, as advised or as contained in the report, was that we need to look at the abuses, the non-responsiveness, and the inaction by the South African Police Service. So our presentation is also divided in terms of those three issues that we're asked to look at. So you would see as I continue that I'm going to speak about the non-responsiveness by SAPS, the inaction by SAPS, as well as the abuses. So the next slide, this is the investigation that was that was sent to IPID so that we can look at it. As I indicated, we started with phase 1, which I indicated in recently that it was premised on the 3 pillars, which is the inaction, non-responsiveness, and the abuses. So with regard to inaction, perhaps I need to indicate that we went to the report. We then extrapolated the matters that are relating to inaction by the police. So the matter that we are going to look at first is the robbery at the residential place, which was registered as per at the Bayswater police station. There's a case docket that was opened. So these are things that we discovered during our perusal. We could confirm that indeed there was a house robbery, and we also discovered that there were items of value that were mentioned in the case docket that it's said to have been stolen, which include cash, jewelry,
Recording stopped.
portable safes, and other electronic gadgets. IPID also
Recording in
noted
progress.
the investigation by SAPS was poor. So as we engage with the docket, we noticed that the investigation that was conducted was not of was of substandard, if I may put it that way. And we can also justify why we said that, because we also noticed that the crime scene was not properly managed. The witnesses who could provide valuable information regarding the matter were not engaged, and their statements were not obtained. So obviously, the investigation was not done properly from the scene, including the aspects that would then assist in improving the case. So that was a concern for IPID. And further, we also noticed that the docket was closed at the station level. The docket and the decision to close the docket, we found that it was premature and unjustified. The reason why we're saying it's unjustified is because the investigation was not done properly from the scene. People that were supposed to provide information were not engaged. So there was no effort to try and make sure that they conduct a thorough investigation so that they're able to come up with a conclusive decision in terms of the allegations of robbery. Now, so those are the things that we found. So you would see that my investigation will start by revealing what IPID discovered and the actions taken by IPID. So with regard to this matter of robbery at the residential place, IPID then on the 4th of May 2023, the executive director then tasked the team to meet with the investigative team that was at the crime scene. The investigative team was led by the late Brigadier Condolences. We met with him, may his soul rest in peace, in Bloemfontein to discuss our findings that I've just alluded to in my previous slide. The IP team then instructed Brigadier Condolences and his team, because he came with his team members, that they need to reopen the case docket in order to attend to the outstanding investigation and report to the IPID. We also informed them, we discussed with them to say these are the issues of concern. As IPID, the following were not done, like I indicated, the scene management was not done properly. And they considered So as they considered, we said to them, you need to reopen. And they realized that indeed there's a need to reopen the case docket and conduct a thorough investigation. So the case docket was opened, and they committed to making sure that all the outstanding investigation will be done. We also said they need to provide feedback to IPID in writing on regular basis until the matter is finalized. The first report, progress report to IPID, is due at the end of this month. Now, I was talking to the police in action. Now I'm going to talk to matters relating to non-response. I will also again start with what we discovered as we engage with the docket. Regarding this non-response, IPID found that there was an allegation relating to failure to assist a complainant who alleged to have been assaulted by the so-called enforcers. The victim alleged that he went to Friede police station with the intention to lay a charge against the enforcers. However, when he got to the police station, he alleges that the police refused to assist him. So as a result, a case against the enforcers could not be opened. So because of the frustration that he got from the station, he decided that he needed to move to the next station. And then he moved to Standerton, which is in Mpumalanga. So he left Free State to go to Standerton police station. When he got to Standerton police station, a case was opened. As it's standard, and as it's a requirement that a case that is open outside the jurisdiction of the station must be referred back. So upon opening the case, the matter was then referred back to Friede so that they can investigate. During our engagement, also we discovered that the docket was already closed and filed. So the case that came from Standerton transferred to Friede. We found that when we looked for it, it was already closed. However, I need to indicate that the docket, we also discovered that the docket was not just closed at the station level, but it was referred to the NPA for decision, and NPA declined to prosecute. The next slide, it's the actions taken by IPID with regard to this matter of failure to assist the complainant. So the IPID team met with the former station commander of Friede. We found that he has been transferred from Friede. He's currently in Zamdela, district of Subs in Sasolburg. We had an interview with him. During the interview, he said, I know about this. He knows about this allegation of failure to assist. He also went further to say, but I was disciplined for this matter. And the outcome of the discipline was that I was transferred from the station and 2 months' salary was taken from me. But as we engaged further, he said, unfortunately, the disciplinary action was not implemented. So IPID is currently investigating why the disciplinary action were not implemented. We want to understand who was responsible for that. Where are the minutes of the disciplinary? Because this SAP 96 does not show that he was disciplined. So whether it's the failure to capture it on his 96 or it was a deliberate action. So it's something that the executive director is looking at. So we are currently busy checking why was it not implemented. In the same vein, IPID has reopened the docket and also assessing the reasons for the closure of the case docket. With regard to the non-response, which is another pillar that we said we're going to look at. With regard to this matter, we looked at the investigation of murder of the late Mr. Ngwenya, which is also a matter that was registered and investigated at Friede police station. And the investigation is still on continuing. So IPID has, upon engaging the commission report, noted that there were allegations of poor investigation. there were reports that came to IPID to say, we are not happy with the investigation that is being conducted regarding the death of Mr. Ngwenya. Now, in the light of this allegation, IPID engaged the subs, the detective commander or the branch commander to establish the status. So we wanted to know first, what is the status of the matter? How far is the investigation? And also to engage with the docket so that we are able to substantiate the allegation of poor investigation. So the Frede police station detective indicated that the case was receiving attention and that it was also referred to NPA for decision. Now, because they said it's referred to NPA, then it necessitated that IPID should go to NPA and engage the officials of the NPA to confirm, because the allegation that we receive is that the investigation is not receiving attention as it's supposed to be, and there's poor investigation. So upon engagement with the NPA, NPA confirmed that the docket was indeed in their possession, and that they've already issued summons, and that the two accused, maybe I need to speak a little bit about these two accused, because they were saying this accused, they are involved, but NPA is not, the police are not arresting them. So we found that obviously they needed guidance. Is the decision of the NPA whether a person has a case to answer or not. So NPA has already issued the summons, and the police have served the two accused, and they appeared in court. So this is what IPID has done in terms of this, because what I've just spoken to is what we discovered. But this is what we have done. After we've confirmed that indeed NPA has issued the summons, the accused will be appearing in court. So we then engaged subs on this matter, that we need progress. Subs have to give us progress with regard to this matter. And also IPID engaged the family of the deceased to provide feedback on the current status of the case. So what IPID will be doing moving on until the finalization of the investigation is to ensure that we receive feedback and provide feedback to the family. And because the relationship between the family and the police is a little bit strained, because the family believes that investigation is not done correctly. So IPID has taken that space to provide family with the feedback that they will source from the police. So police have an obligation to report the status of the matter, and IPID will then report to the family so that we strengthen this relationship. In conclusion, the investigation that we are doing, that is premised on those three pillars, which is the abuse, inaction, and non-responsiveness, is continuing. Sorry for that. We are continuing with that, and we'll be giving feedback again to the Director General in the presidency on the 18th of August, 2023. I want to thank you, and over to the Executive Director.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kanye. Chairperson, this is the progress that was made with regard to the investigation as per the Judicial Service Commission. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Executive Director and your team. Honorable Minister, do you have something to say?
No, it's on your guidance. The presentations that have been made are they as were presented and discussed with the minister by the two presenters. Thanks.
Okay, thanks very much, Honorable Minister. Colleagues, can I see whether you are able to engage with the report? Questions, inputs? These were the two detailed submissions. Honorable Blanche.
Chairperson, thank you. I just want to get clarity. Are we now supposed to be dealing with the two presentations that we had?
Yes, the two presentations.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, let me start with the presentation by investigate, and obviously that is going to take some time. Chairperson, but we must also, be mindful of the fact, I just want to raise that, is that, remember, we are representing the people of South Africa. And, I couldn't miss to see that, if you look at all the findings of the Zondo Commission, then it is a bit concerning. People obviously want action, and people want things to start happening. But, I cannot miss to see that, the number of cases dealt with at the moment is rather very, very few. And I already admitted that, it's quite a difficult investigation to do. Chairperson, and then obviously the thing that comes to mind is how long will it take, at this pace, the Hawks and all the other people involved to make any, proper sort of impact or progress with all the outstanding issues. So my concern is, Chairperson, that it will maybe not happen in our lifetime, that we will see that everything is being dealt with properly as per the expectations of, of the people of South Africa. Coming to the different environments, just to, to drive my point further home, in Eskom's, the Eskom issue there, we see that they have 5 cases there, SAA only 3, Transnet only 1, and so we continue. Chairperson, and okay, obviously the information given to us in terms of the specific cases was quite interesting. But I think, we as a committee, that is, just very good information to have. But I think our focus should really be, and obviously supposed to be, the progress in the finalization of these investigations, and obviously then, get it finalized. And, the ones that are really finalized, for instance, in the South African Airways one, I think it's only 2, and so it goes on. Chairperson, that is my concern about what we are having here. In 2022, we learned that 20 experienced investigators led by senior officers were assembled to prioritize the investigations emanating from the State Capture Commission. And my question then is regarding that, are they done with their investigation or their assessment? And if they are not done yet, when can we expect them to get through that, assessment of theirs? This is as far as Chairperson the Hawks are concerned. Getting to the presentation by IPID, my first observation is, and I also want to commend the IPID for their investigation and what they did to date. I really think that they, just sort of confirmed what we expected, in quite a lot of cases regarding the police, that people are not properly trained, that they are not doing proper investigation, just to mention a few things. Chairperson, I couldn't help to see that, the background is that they started way back, got the instruction to do the investigation. Let me just get to this one page now. And, it is quite obvious. I mean, they were only able on the 4th of May, 2023, to meet with SAP's investigation team. And obviously the question is, the thing that they had to investigate regarding the police are allegations of inaction. And I was just wondering whether this long delay before they can start or started with this really cannot also be regarded as, as inaction on their part. Met the 4th of May, and the first report is only due by the end of June. Chairperson, I don't think they can be proud of this, but apart from that, I really, as I said, I want to commend them for the investigation that they did, the findings that they made, and obviously, also, sort of convincing the police or forcing them in a way to reopen the dockets, the case dockets, and do proper investigation. And then the issue about the disciplinary action that was not implemented. I would like to get a response from, at least the National Commissioner, what happened there and why is this the position? Chairperson, I'll stop at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Jet Blanche. Honorable Funebart.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Chair, I will be short. I just want to ask some clarity when it comes to DPCI. I see there were 19 arrests for natural persons and then 8 arrests for heuristic persons. Just for clarity, how do you arrest a heuristic person? I understand a natural person, the arrest of that, but can I just have clarity on how do you arrest a heuristic person? That is another one. Chairperson, I must say that if I look at the reports, unfortunately, again, the criminal justice system is failing not only the people of South Africa, but in this specific cases, I think also for hard work and dedicated work of members of the South African Police Services. And the reason I say that, if we look at Moses and Paul Gift, I must say the Gift is a quite interesting name for Makuna. I mean, the sentence in the end is 10 years imprisonment for count number 1 and 5 years for count number 2, and then everything is suspended. So, in fact, it's a heavy penalty, but it is suspended. The person is just walking around free. Nothing really, can I say, punishment. You suspend it, or it is suspended. And Chairperson, I think we must look at this issue. I mean, I think if I ask General Labia how many hours have been put into this specific case, we will hear it's hours and hours and hard work. And then I can just understand how the investigators feel because of their hard work, and in the end, the person is just walking around because can I say, the convicted person and everything on it has been suspended, the sentences and everything. So that is just a remark. Chairperson, when it comes to IPID, I want to say that in Afrikaans we can say dis duidelik daar's nie vrede by die vrede polisiestasie. Now, Chairperson, it's quite clear if you look at the vrede situation in the police station there's quite a lot of irregularities that actually took place there. And my question, Chairperson, is that if we look, for instance, of in the first case, where there was no response and the person was referred to some other police stations, I want to say to you, this is one case investigated, but I can assure you this is happening daily at different police stations in South Africa. That people go to the police stations, they want to put in a complaint, and then they are referred to some other places. In other words, there's no real, can I say, response from the police. And my question is, in the light of this specific case, what did the police do to ensure that all the police stations get the message that you have to attend to a complaint from a person from public, a public member? And I want to emphasize, and I repeat myself, this is happening on a daily basis. So, Chairperson, that's in short, actually my two questions, besides my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Fulnevat. Honorable Golding.
Thank you, Chairperson. To all members, this is my first meeting, and I thought I was going to be relatively quiet, but on what I've heard, I'm probably not going to be, and there's a reason I've been put here. So the question to the Hawks, DPCI. There's a fair amount of work which has been done on your side, and thank you for that. I would like to understand what the resources are that are employed in total and what the cost is, because there's a lot of work done. It does appear, though, that you are resource short, and I'm not sure whether that question would be answered here or whether I should send a letter to the minister. But there's a fair amount of resources and there's a fair amount of cost which is attached to these investigations. And then echoing what Dr. Groenewald has just said, if we look at the Free State issue, there was 1,229 statements made. And at the end of it, the gentleman was sentenced to 10 years, suspended. This person was not a junior office bearer. It was the HOD for housing. So justice is definitely failing us here, because the person in that role is responsible and should be held accountable. And I understand the frustration on the Hawk side when after all that work that comes out and nothing happens. So that's something which I think needs to be raised by us with justice as to where this goes. So resourcing is what I'd like to understand, both resourcing from a manpower point of view and what the cost and value is, and what you may possibly need further to expedite all these matters. That is the first one. The second one was the issue of Mr. X in the SAA matter. I believe that there was a sentence or there was a fine of 120,000 Rand. Now, possibly to the minister here, there's a reason that the party was called Mr. X. I'm assuming that Mr. X is a whistleblower. Now, we need to be very cautious with our whistleblowers. We've had incidents of whistleblowers being killed. And the fact that somebody just blurted it out and has received a slap on the wrist is a problem. So this is something, yet again, which needs to be dealt with very strongly, because if people fear coming forward, this won't happen any further. Again, looking at the broader context of the cost, these investigations are very costly. Zondo cost us upwards of 1 billion Rand. I'd like to understand what the cost of all this work done by IPID, by the Hawks is, because this cost is just escalating. And at a sentencing level, we're seeing no real outcomes. And the question is more to justice here. Are they serious about this? So let's move on to the IPID side. Yet again, I would like to understand what your resource base is. Mr. Kanye, thank you for your feedback there. And within the context of your 3 pillars of abuse, non-response, and inaction, there are a few things I'd like to understand as the outputs. What are our rectification actions being taken? At the base level, it's going to be training. At a second level, it may be resourcing. But more importantly is, what is the consequence management? Are we seeing consequence management? As Dr. Groenewald indicated, the failure with that SAP 96 not being captured, was that just a failure or was it corrupt? That was 2 months' income, which was not taken away. Yet again, echoing the issue of cases not being taken or dockets not been opened. Has IPID got a volume on this? I would like to understand what the national volume is. That is just one small station. Is this happening nationally? Because we are depriving residents of justice. On the final one around the murder, you did indicate that it was referred to the MPA and it seems to be brushed off and it is sitting there. But as IPID looked at the docket, what was the quality of the investigation which was undertaken? Because it all seems very lackadaisical. And as the family, which IPID's not trying to intervene, but SAP should be dealing with this properly. So within these contexts, we've touched on inaction, we've touched on non-response, but what was not focused on was abuse. And there's a trail of abuse, of power, running through all of this. So I would like to understand that fully, because we are accountable, all of us, to our residents and to justice in this country. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Golding. Honorable Malekwa.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Let me also start by appreciating all the presentation as presented and acknowledge progress made so far on the state capture report and other cases. But also, Chairperson, I want to implore our SAPS members to make sure that they follow all the protocol of investigation at all times, that they should also close the gap and not open loopholes that can be able to jeopardize the cases. Chairperson, I think maybe there is a need to put mechanism in place, like more training and support to SAPS members for them to be able to do their work professionally. We do understand the work pressure they may find themselves in, but they should also put more effort by putting the victim first in treating them with Ubuntu. We also want to commend and appreciate the effort put by the Minister and the Deputy Minister in attending the critical situation, especially that involved the criminal activities to our community. We want to say the Minister must keep it up on the work that they are doing, especially on dangerous situation. You will always find the Minister there. So we really appreciate their work. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Malekwa. Honorable Reverend Shure.
Thank you, Chairperson. My first question to the Hawks has to do with the number of inquiries that are under investigation. And the number given is 37. I want to know how long it has been taken them to deal with these 37 inquiries. When did the inquiry start? And when do they think or estimate the conclusion of these inquiries? Because after these inquiries, they still have to investigate cases. So what are their target dates that they are planning to conclude the inquiries so that investigation of cases should take place? Now, if they still have so many inquiries, could it be that the reason is the shortage of investigators? And if that is the case, how many investigators would they require to ensure that the time that is needed to do this investigation is reduced and also expedited? Now, the second one that has relating to IPID. When one looks at the Baywater case, we are told that there are witnesses that could have provided valuable information that were not engaged, and that the case was closed prematurely. However, this is concerning because we know that we have high crime rates in the country, and we have cases that are thrown out of courts. We have very low conviction rates of very serious crimes. And so one is concerned when we always hear about poor investigations. Now, is there any hope that these poor investigations will come to an end? And when witnesses that could provide valuable information are not engaged, could that be a sign of an attempt to cover up, or what could be the reason? Because we know that without witnesses, it would be difficult, if not impossible, to win a number of cases. And my second one, the former station commander of Freire Police Station was disciplined, but the disciplinary action was not implemented. This also is concerning. Why have or waste time to have disciplinary processes when people know that the outcome or the disciplinary actions that are proposed are not going to be implemented? Could this be another case maybe of corruption where somebody is being protected internally? What could be the reason, and what's going to be done about those who are supposed to implement disciplinary action and they did not do it? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Meshue. Can I give it to the Minister and your team?
Thanks very much. Thanks very much, Chairperson. I'm sure the technical questions the honorable asked by honorable members will be responded by National Commissioner, Head of Hawks, and the Chair. I will start at the end about the matters concerning IPID. We discussed the matter. One thing that was raised on the matter is to find out where was a stuck up in terms of implementing the decision taken in terms of discipline. I hope they are investigating that and they'll be taking us through. It could be here or later. One was quite adamant on that one, but the work done by IPID is welcomed because they did find some issues, especially with the Freire police station. Chairperson, if I make reference to the matters raised by Honorable Dr. Groenewald, that there are many cases around the stations that would have been similar to the Freire one, I would not say no. But I would also urge the members that will also refer to the contribution made by Honorable Mfundisi. I will also urge the members that they will have to take on board the good work that is done by many South African police. When I hear that there are many cases that would have not been done properly, members will raise the issue of training. I don't think that that will be the only thing. It also depends on the individuals that they are there. I say that because there is a lot of good work that is done by the members of the South African police. Maybe that's why, as we speak now, there is 44% overpopulated prisons in the Republic of South Africa. 44% overpopulation. And remember, this 44% happens in this term alone. The Minister of Correctional Service have requested two times parole permission from the president. The first 14,000 parolees were paroled and left the system. The second one, during COVID-19, 19,000 were paroled and left the system, but there is still 44% overpopulated. So it would be very unfair to the hard-working police that they do thorough investigations, Honorable Moshoe. Out of those, about more than 150,000 that are in the prisons of South Africa, almost between 18 and 20,000 people are doing life sentence, which means for you to get life sentence, for the judge or magistrate to give you life sentence, an investigator has done a beautiful work, a good work to convince the magistrate or the judge to give you the life sentence. So I would love us to take that on board, that when we hit hard, and I agree it should be so, to those that are not doing work, but you must also remember that there are highly dedicated, well-cultured and doing their work, indeed, under very strenuous conditions, especially when it comes to detectives. It's a very strenuous conditions. That's why we're trying to work to make their life easier, but indeed it's very difficult. That's the point I wanted to make on the question of dealing with the police. But maybe National Commission would come back on the consequential management, because I agree, there should be a consequential management. If you don't do your work, you go to college, you apply to get the work, you are selected. As we speak, there are 10,000 of them selected among more than 500,000 people that actually 750,000 that people applied. And you go there, you are trained 9 months, you are given the code of conduct and every other thing. You come back not to do your work, and you must be really face consequences when you don't do your work. So I think it's one area, by the way, that we have been making a lot of call on it, including on the budget speech and other platforms, to say those that are not doing their work, those that are not giving service delivery to the community out there, they must face the music. On that one, I'll put aside. Coming to the Hawks, I'm sure the advocate Libya will put in terms of resources and all that kind of thing. But I want to just make a comment on the comment made by Honorable Member Dr. Groenewald. Dr. Groenewald, is not only this one that really you sit down and you look at it. As it said, this is not a junior member. This is not a junior member. And I can imagine that it can't be hours, Dr. Groenewald. Should be the days. Should be really the days. Should be a lot of resources, cars and everything. Sometimes employing forensics and all those kinds, because these are very complicated cases. Forensics and paying extra money. And indeed, 10 years, that you look at it, you say, yes, maybe that is a good equity in giving but suspended for 10 years, and that person works with the very same investigator that has put all the efforts in. It's not only that, there are many. When you go to the question of political killings in KZN, is a new trend. All sentences are suspended, and in a very serious cases, and in many ways are suspended, as you can see with Tutumieni again. But you must remember, Honorable Khune, we have been around with this case. We have raised these things before, and there was an undertaking to say maybe you need to put the cluster committees all together and call all of us together as a class, especially police, justice, by the way, and correctional service, because we're facing a lot of problem with correctional service, honorable members. When it comes to parolees, there are serious cases, including murders, including rapes that are done by the parolees. The parolees that would not be discussed with the investigating officer. The investigating officer would not know that that person has been paroled. When you are called again that so-and-so is doing this thing, the parole officer, the investigating officer will simply say that person is in prison because nobody tells us. I think even when we come to JCPS cluster, we'll try to raise these things, but I would love to remind the members that have been there in the committee to say the request has been made from the police to say maybe it would be good sometimes to have these joint portfolio committees and joint ministries to put these things on the table. But on other questions, per the resources, both personnel, money, and all that, I will allow a national commissioner and the head of Hawks to respond, Honorable Chair. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and members, and Minister and DM. The matter of free the Honorable Chairperson, the station commander was taken through disciplinary process, yes, and unfortunately, yes, it's discovered later that the decision of the chairperson was partially implemented in that it was he was suspended for 2 months, salary was suspended, and a transfer effected. But what did not happen was the capturing part of the salary, the docking of the salary. That the provincial commissioner, together with the division HR, are investigating with a view that we take steps against the official who was supposed to dock the salary. So that action is currently being investigated. The salary will be docked, but the one who was supposed to dock the salary, we are investigating that person to say why was this action partially implemented. And then with regard to the question of reporting cases, Honorable Chairperson, as alluded by Dr. Groenewald, we regularly, when we have meetings, Board of Commissioners meetings and provincial management forum meetings where station commanders are present, this message is always relayed to station commanders, and they have got also their meetings with their members that members of the public must be attended to at all times. We quite often encounter this, especially where you have station borders that are closer to one another and the police station is far, where community are referred to a far police station. Last week I had a similar problem with Brest police station and Letlhabile police station, where members of the community that are closer to Letlhabile, just because they fall under Brest police station, they are referred to Brest, whereas Letlhabile is about 50 meters walk. And I did dealt with the provincial management that those cases must be dealt with by Letlhabile. It's one South African police service, so it doesn't matter where your case is handled. members of the public should be assisted at the nearest point of service contact. And this message we keep on putting forward to our various forums when we are communicating with the management of stations. I think I'll ask General Lebea to respond on the other question. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable members, the Minister. Starting with the first question from the Honorable Terblanche, with regard to few cases that we are handling. Let me indicate that we have referred to 140 that shall have gone to the ID, which were with the DPCR. And then we are also indicating 47 that we are remaining with. That will be talking to 187. The cases may...
Recording stopped.
But what we should keep in mind is that some of the counts, criminal activities are incorporated into one matter, which is why when a case is being finalized, you find that you have got more than 10 counts. If you were to note the
recording in progress,
more than 2,400 counts, it means that if you wish, you can want to open 2,400 dockets. But if you are able to deal with them in one docket, it still serves the very same purpose, as long as the accused person will be charged in respect of each count, even when it is in one docket. So the number of dockets, which is 187, may sound to be few, but they are many, Honorable Chairperson. So when we look at the recommendation, you'll find that if they say SSR, you'll find that the recommendations talk to dealing with a group of individuals, and then you place all those in one docket, because you will not be prosecuting them separately as what they shall have done. They have done those jointly. So that explains to the number of dockets which appears to be few. Looking at the second portion of the question, what has been done with the investigation by the 20 IOs that we have said that we have put together as a team. Investigation is a type of science where you systematically deal with certain issues. And some of this complicated statement, if you were to get one statement and hear that this statement have got more than 50 pages, you say, how do they go about recording this type of statements? So there is a science that really the members apply. But again, you look at, you may say that one docket is not, there is not much that is being done in one docket. If you look at two dockets that we have reflected here, which have got more than 1,200 statements, it almost means that one docket have got more than 600 statements. And it takes time to finalize one affidavit. It is this type of work that at times they appear to be few, but when you look at the case itself, the counts will be many, which means that there is a lot of work that is brought in. Coming to the next question of the Honorable Dr. Groenewald, with regard to the arrest of juristic persons and natural persons, I think that what we could have done at the heading there, so that it doesn't create a impression that even juristic persons are handcuffed, we should have put there at the heading that it is securing the attendance of accused persons in court. So that will be the better heading, so that it doesn't create that impression that juristic persons are arrested. But it's a securing of the attendance. Usually the director is the one that gets arrested to go and represent that company. Or in other cases, you serve summons. But most of these juristic persons, the director is already arrested. So you join that juristic person so that the individual, a natural person, is not going to defend by saying that, but I'm only an employee, or I'm not the person that has done this. I was executing this on behalf of someone else. So that explains to that, which means that it is the heading that maybe we may have drafted slightly different. Coming to the third question of the Honorable Golden, with regards to the resources, whether we need further resources to also expedite the work that we are doing. Let me indicate that with regard to the resources, what we need is more bodies, as it will be appreciated that institutions outside do not produce investigators. We would like to have more bodies, be it from the greater service, the universities, and whatever. Once we have them, we train them, and they will be able to be fully fledged investigators. So currently, we are sitting at 54% of what we would like to be having. We are working on this. So indeed, when one looks at the capacity and the workload that we have of more than 22,000 cases, of which we have already secured the attendance of more than 11,000 accused persons in court, that workload is higher. It requires that we add on the capacity that we are having. So we are working on this. So all what I say is that we have identified that a need to increase the capacity. The other resources that we have said that we would like to have, which we have raised, and I think that they have been highlighted also during the various budget debates, is the suitable accommodation for the members in the DPCR. Starting from the headquarters of the DPCR, that again is being discussed internally so that we can have suitable accommodation where all the personnel can be under one roof instead of the current situation. So that is being worked on. Regarding the issue of the third question of the Mr. X, whose identity was disclosed, and the slap on the wrist when it comes to sentencing, I think that ours usually end at the securing the attendance in court and then securing all the witnesses to testify. And once the person is declared a criminal by the presiding officer, then the issue of sentencing it in the jurisdiction of the presiding officer. And I think that noting the concerns. It's not only in this regard. I have also observed, Chairperson, that yesterday, when we secured the sentences of 3 hitmen in KwaZulu-Natal, the Inkabis, that have killed one of our own police official. When they were sentenced yesterday, 2 of them were given life sentences. 1 was given 30 years. But when one look at the comments from the media, people who are social media, people seems to be not satisfied with these sentences. And these are not the only 3 in this case. The first to be sentenced was the spouse of the very same police official who unfortunately hired the assassins, who was given 22 years sentence. One will also be asking, or is this sufficient? But that jurisdiction is out of our reach. All what we do is to ensure that we properly investigate these cases, submit them to court, and then the court must exercise its discretion. But when it comes to work itself, we put all our efforts. And I can say that even today, as I speak, there is a trial taking place in Mabat where 2 of our own were killed when they were dealing with these hardened criminals that were targeting cash in transit using rifles. Already in that one has been sentenced to 30 years imprisonment. We believe that the 3 that are now disputing contesting the charge, when it comes to finding if convicted, they can get better sentence. So the sentencing, Chairperson, it is a matter of the separation of powers. Those who preside decide if it is written in law that this is the maximum sentence that you may mete out, this is the minimum that you may mete out. They are being guided by the laws that the lawmakers shall have made. Coming to the last question, Honorable Chairperson, coming from the Honorable Reverend Mishwe, dealing with the 37 inquiries as to when did we start, when do we estimate to finalize this, when are we going to translate these inquiries into dockets? Chairperson, the method of investigation, when we are investigating in an inquiry, there are those matters which at time we investigate and we only transfer the statements into a case docket when we are ready to move the next step. There are various reasons for keeping an inquiry, but otherwise the inquiry is still recorded on case, and then we file all the necessary statements in the inquiry, and then when we move them into the docket, is the same. They will retain the very same reference numbers in terms of clip A's and clip B's. So we will not be able to, at this stage, say in respect of this inquiry, this is how long it will take. It will be determined by the various evidence. So when we get one statement, it all depends as to whether there is the next statement that is triggered by the first statement that you got, which you didn't know at the outset. But otherwise, we have prioritized this. The intention is that we must finish as soon as possible, which is why we have put the team together. We have drawn them from the different areas so that they focus on this and speedily finalize the matters. Those are the questions that were directed at the DPC. I thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members.
Thank you very much, General Lebuya. National Commissioner, are we fine on that score? Before I go to IPID.
Yeah, no, thanks, Honorable Chair. We are okay. Thank you.
Okay. Executive Director.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think we are going to be responding to all the questions. I'm going to hand over to my investigator to then take us through the process, starting with Member Teraplanch's question.
Thank you, Edie, and thank you, Chairperson. If General Lebuya would allow me just to quote that indeed investigation is science, and it takes time because investigation, you need to, it's a research, you need to find out certain things. So when we received as IPID information, it was not an explicit information, it was information that we needed to gather. Hence, I mentioned in slide 4 that we had to sit and then categorize the investigation. We had phase 1, which involved the collection, the gathering, identification of key witnesses, and the police that need to be interviewed. And that takes, it's a process on its own, and it takes time because you would struggle to get certain witnesses, the dockets being available to go through the dockets. But perhaps I also need to hasten in indicating that it is also a concern for us because the delay, it's not as of our own. It is the challenges that you come across as you investigate. And those are inherent in the investigation, that you would have challenges here and there. Witnesses would not avail themselves. There will be delays here and there. But the intention of IPID is to expedite the investigation. I'm not sure if I have to say anything else because General Lebuya did explain a lot, which is the same challenges. Both institutions have experienced the same challenges. Like I said, it's inherent in the nature of the work that we do as investigators. The second question by Dr. Grunewald, we want to note what you said and the comment. But I think for us, it is a comment, and we accept like it. I'm not sure if there's anything else, but except to say that we note the comment made by Dr. Grunewald. And the National Commissioner, I think, has also alluded to that. Going to the next question by Honorable Golding, he wanted to know what are the action or the consequence management. You would appreciate that after the investigation by IPID, which we are currently doing, we will then make recommendations to the National Commissioner in terms of Section 30 of our IPID Act, where we would indicate to the National Commissioner our findings and employ him to institute the necessary disciplinary process as enshrined in the National Instruction and Disciplinary Code of the South African Police Service. So we would generate a recommendation that will then address the issues of consequence management. And I also have to say, with the question of quality, that we as IPID, if you look at what we said in our presentation, we are not happy with the quality of investigation, the allegations of poor investigation. Hence, we went to meet with the NPA to say, this is the allegation. This is what we have found as IPID. We needed the NPA to come together with IPID, raise these things, and we hear the NPA's point of view in terms of what we found, whether that will hamper the investigation, or is there anything that we need to do to make sure that the investigation is not hamstrung. But we were comforted by the fact that the NPA said, I will be issued the summons, which means that there's progress in the matter. So there are certain things, despite all those challenges, the NPA was still able to issue a summons. So we will be monitoring that and making sure that there are no other delays and that the quality of investigation will improve. Hence, we said that we are going to engage with the investigating officer to get progress on regular basis, that progress that will then report to the family. So we are concerned, and we have taken a decision that we will make sure that the quality of investigation, it is satisfactory, and the outcome thereof, it's something that will address the challenges of the family of the deceased, because it is our interest as IPID that the outcome of investigation should serve as a deterrent for future cases like this, and also to give the family the consolation that they will need. So I'm not sure, Executive Director, if we are on this matter before I move to Honorable Misha. Honorable Misha, I think when it comes to this matter, the National Commissioner, I think he confirmed the findings of IPID. But we are still going to make sure that we get the necessary evidence that will then assist us to finalize this matter. What the National Commissioner said is what we found, but we're not going to stop there. We have to go further and confirm and come back and say, this is what we found, and these are the recommendations that we're going to make, because it is unacceptable that someone will be disciplined, but the disciplinary decision or action, it's not captured, so the person get away with it. So we need to get into the bottom of it, and the ED is going to make sure, we are making sure as we speak, we are engaging with the police, we are engaging with the relevant chairperson, and I must also indicate that next week, ED has allowed us to go back so that we are able to finalize this matter, because we believe that it needs expeditious finalization. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. I think we have tried to respond to all the questions. Thank you.
Thanks very much. I think Honorable's questions have been responded to. In case there's something that comes as an afterthought, like we used to do, you can put it in writing and we'll send it to the relevant office for them to respond in writing. We are left with 1 hour to deal with the next item, item 10, so that we are able to allow honorables who want to go to other meetings to do so. The next item, which will be presented, which will be responded to by DPCI, SAPS, and the Secretariat. I'm going to give each about 7 minutes to present. It's about critical infrastructure, but the key things there that you need to focus on, it's 1, investigations, 2, outstanding regulations, and 3, appointment of the Critical Infrastructure Council. So if you can speak to that, like I said, the presentations have been with us for quite some time. I'm not sure whether, Minister, you want to introduce the item?
No, Chair, I think the presentation can go straight up. Okay?
Okay.
I think presenters can go on and present.
All right, thanks very much. SAPS, GPCI, and Secretariat. Oh, I see the presentation of GPCI is already on the screen. Let's shoot on.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. We have taken note of the time restriction. Lieutenant General Musipi, who is the Divisional Commissioner of National Priority Offenses, will do the presentation. General Musipi.
Lieutenant General Msipi. You have a problem with your mic. General Livia, I think he's not responding. Or should we take another presentations while he's still preparing himself?
Yeah, maybe we can move to the next one. If he struggles, then I'll take over. But let's move to the next one. I'll be checking with him. He said that there is a reception problem.
Okay. National Commissioner, General Masemula.
Thanks, Honorable Chair. General Mhlala will take us through the presentation, and General Mhlala, don't talk to the presentation as the Chair directed, concentrating more on the matters raised, matters identified. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
General Mhlala.
General Mhlala, you must unmute. We can't hear you. Brigadier Mahlangu will take us through, Honorable Chairperson. Thank you. Brigadier, proceed.
Thank you very much, Chair. In terms of the progress with regard to the regulation, Chairperson, we have been interacting with the legal service and the civilian secretariat in terms of populating input from the operational environment that relates to the regulations, Chair. Up to so far, we are envisaged that all the sponsored input relating to the regulations that relates to all the responsibilities that lies under the National Commissioner in terms of the format of the application, if an area is declared, or a system of categorizing the infrastructure in terms of low, medium, or high risk, all the declaration process. We have consolidated all the inputs through the department, our division legal service, which we are foreseeing if it can be taken through in terms of distribution for public comments. Either at the end of the
Good morning, Honorable Chair, honorable members. Am I audible?
Audible from where, because you are disrupting a meeting here.
Thanks very much, Chair. As I've already alluded to the fact of saying that no, also in relation to the functioning of committees that are established. So
I can hear them, but all right.
Next slide.
Next slide, Chair. Chair, I was talking to the slide that relates to the regulations progress. So which is on slide number 8, if I'm correct, Chair. So in terms of briefly to say that no, there is the progress with regard to interaction within ourselves as a division protection and security service, interacting with our legal division and also the civilian secretariat in terms of all of the information that we have sponsored in terms of the regulation contents that we have already submitted for the purpose of declaration process and functioning of the committees and forums of the critical infrastructure. We foresee, or our wish is that through the civilian secretariat, all these regulations, if they can be published before the end of June or as early as July, Chairperson. In terms of the appointment of the council, the only point that I'll be talking to is the point that relates to the appointment of the rep from SAPS, whereby we are indicating that no, the rep will be coming from the incumbent to the position of component head, government security regulator, Chair. So I will be allowing the civilian secretariat to continue in terms of the other matters of critical infrastructure council. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chairperson. We can ask Dr. Amaru to do some additions. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chairperson, honorable members, honorable minister, honorable deputy minister, national commissioner and colleagues. We have consolidated a presentation into one with SAPS, but maybe what I can indicate is with regard to most of the members of the Critical Infrastructure Council, we received communication from the Office of the Chairperson indicating that the vetting of 4 out of the 5 members has been completed. And since then, we've had a short meeting with the council members where we had informed them about this development. And we're currently planning to have a workshop with them in the next few weeks. Initially, we had planned to have that workshop on the 21st, but due to unavailability of some of the members, we are looking at a new date and it will be done very soon. I think that is what I can add in a nutshell, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Honorable Chair. I'm sure we can go back to General Levere.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Let me just check. General Musipi, are you now better placed? Let me proceed with the presentation. The Secretary can just bring that slide on the screen. Starting with the outline of the presentation, it will be talking to the overview of cases on the protection of critical infrastructure, the breakdown of cases per province. The Secretary
Can you have the
is
slide, Babalwa? Are you able to assist?
Yeah, if I was able, I were going to share, but the Secretary can share because I'm disabled here.
Yeah, share. Babalwa, doctors
All
can
right.
also be disabled.
Thank you. That is the overview is a breakdown of cases per province, the overview of crimes, and the overview of the amount involved. In the next slide, we just show that in terms of the workload that we are having is 60. Of these 60, 46 are on the court roll, while 3 are pending decision by the National Prosecuting Authority. And the number of those that are under investigation is 11. 10 have already been finalized, of which 1 is guilty, 1 is declined. The others are closed as undetected and also unfounded. In the next slide, we just show a breakdown per province on this case, 60 cases that we are talking about. And I don't think that is necessary to repeat, but an observation is that in the Gauteng province and the Western Cape province are the provinces that are carrying the majority of this, 25 in Gauteng, 24 in Western Cape. And Eastern Cape is having 7, whereas Mpumalanga is having 4. The rest of the provinces do not have these matters. That is the breakdown per province. In the next slide is just an indication of the nature of the cases that we are talking about, the type of crimes that are investigated in these matters. Obviously, we're talking about theft of copper, dealing with the Second-Hand Goods Act, the theft of fowl, the sabotage of infrastructure. It goes up to the next page of the Western Cape, where we're talking about 24 cases that have occurred in the Western Cape that are on hand. And the last slide is just to show the amount that is involved. When you look at all those 46 cases that we are talking about, which are at court, the value involved is a lot of money, because it's more than 1.2 billion rands. So those are just but an indication of the value involved. In the finalized area, the 93 million of matters were finalized. That, Chairperson, conclude the presentation of the DPCI on the investigation in this regard. Thank you, Chairperson. I submit.
Thanks very much for the presentations. Honorable members, can you interact with the presentations quickly? Are there issues you want to raise from the presentations? Honorable Terplanche.
Chairperson, thank you. Chairperson, you know, this issue is really a very concerning issue to me, in the sense that, you know, we are dealing with a very, very long outstanding issue. I mean, the legislation was assented to by the President on the 20th of December 2019. And the committee had interviews during 2021 already. Chairperson, and we just learned in this presentation that to this very day, the regulations are not finalized yet. So this act is not, you know, we are not working in terms of this new legislation. We are still with the old, you know, act. And we also learned now that, you know, that the vetting have been finalized. In the meantime, some of the people are not available anymore. And my question is, Chairperson, really, you know, apparently this issue apparently was dealt with in a very, very laissez-faire approach, no urgency, you know, and I don't think that is really acceptable. Somebody must explain to us, why did it take so long? It cannot be that, you know, even after our parliament got burned down, still there's no urgency. Getting to the questions, to the hawks, Chairperson, I am glad to hear about the number of cases that is currently investigated. And, you know, I maybe slipped the one, and maybe General Sabia could just indicate to us, especially, you know, the cases for the cable theft. It is really, or yeah, the copper theft is really a huge problem. And then, Chairperson, I know that in terms of Parliament itself, we have a suspect who appeared in court, and maybe General Sabia can also just explain to us, is there something outstanding? Is it only this one suspect? Are they still investigating? Are there still other leads that they're following up to get this sorted out? Chairperson, and then, you know, my question to the Secretariat is, when will we be in a position to implement this new legislation now in full and have this up and running going forward? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Honorable Golden.
Thank you, Chair. Just a question touching on the issue of copper theft and obviously other infrastructure. What is it that we need to make your life easier? We're looking at stuff like the Second-Hand Goods Act, and we're chasing cable thieves, but there's a market out there. And if the market's not there, the thievery would be less. So, I mean, this is dealing with second-hand goods dealers, scrap metal dealers. What level of attention are we giving to the buyers of these goods versus trying to just catch those who are doing it? Because we can legislate all we want, but these markets need to be shut down. So legislatively, and just off the top, doing something like treating copper as a semi-precious metal, what would you recommend that we could do to aid you in your work? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Golding. Honorable Groenewald.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, my question is very short. I want to hear from DPCI and everybody involved when it comes to specifically copper theft that is actually obtained specifically from the critical infrastructure. The Minister for Trade and Industry in November last year have put a moratorium on the export of copper cables for 6 months, and that has lapsed now. My question is, was there any significant, can I say, reduction on the theft of copper theft because of this? Just for interest, I'd like to know whether the police services could have detected any influence and declining of copper theft. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Groenewald. I don't see any other hands. I can give back to the Minister and your team.
Thank you, Chair. The Minister had to attend to some other urgent matters, Chair, and he couldn't interrupt the presenter. But we will continue responding. I will request that you allow the National Commissioner and the team to come in, Chair. Thank you. Through you.
Thanks, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members. Yeah, the regulations, we did input on the regulations, and the Secretariat is finalizing that. It was 2 parts of regulations. There is regulations that have already been passed now, but the second part of it is what they are finalizing. But I think they will respond on that. And also the Divisional Commissioner Legal Services will also add on this matter. With regard to what do we think, what we recommend on cable theft, yeah, the amount of theft is quite problematic. I'll also answer it in connection with the question on whether there was impact by the moratorium. What one would recommend is that the export of these materials, we should go back to drawing board and find some stringent policy on the export of copper, number 1. Number 2, we should, I know it will be, from economic point of view, it won't be a viable or recommended suggestion, taking into account job creation and so on. But we should look at shouldn't this function of getting scrap metals and also copper, scrap copper and so on, shouldn't it be centralized or decentralized to a local municipality where they should have workers that will not go out to steal copper to sell for a living, but do get scrap metal and take to the local municipality with a view that they are employees, they have got nothing to lose. They will not go out to find copper or scrap metal. They'll only take what is there. So that's why I say we think that will assist a lot, but it's one of the ideas that the Committee on Non-Ferrous Metal also was looking at, but the representative from the economic sector that are part of that committee, their issue was this one that will be now impacting on reducing jobs out there in the market. But we think if this can be a municipal function, where a certain category of people in municipality are responsible to bring in the scrap metals, not buying, but collecting it and giving it to the municipality, then the municipality is the only one that will be able to sell to those recyclers. We think that can go a long way in reducing this specific crime. Let me allow the colleagues, firstly, let me say the legal services, followed by Secretariat, I'm sure, and then General B. Thank you, Honorable.
Thank you, National Commissioner, the Honorable Chair and Honorable members, and the Deputy Minister and the colleagues on the platform. Chairperson, if you were to allow me, let me request Brigadier van der Vaart from Legal Services to respond on the issue of regulations. Thank you.
Good morning, Honorable Chair, Honorable members, Minister, Deputy Minister, senior officers. Chair, the certain sections of the Critical Infrastructure Protection Act were put into operation to allow the council to function. And for that purpose, interim regulations were promulgated on 5 May. These interim regulations were also focused on the operation of the council and to get these members working. The remainder of the regulations were consulted with various parties, including CIRA, but most importantly with the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, who was commissioned by SAPS to do research on the broader aspect of critical infrastructure protection. These engagements were focused on the broader issues, but also specifically on the system of categorizing infrastructure in a low risk, medium risk, or high risk category, and to get a scientific basis for that. Those engagements have now been finalized, and there is a proposed draft that SAPS submitted to the Secretariat. And I'm sure that these draft regulations will be processed soon enough by SAPS and CPEs. Thank you.
General Levia, is there anything to add?
Thank you, honorable members. From the DPCI, there has been one question that required direct response from the Honorable Terblanche.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
Honorable have referred to General Sevilla. I take it that he intended to refer to General Levea. I have gone to court on 3 occasions because of the interposition of the names. So there is a General Sivia and I'm General Levea. So I know it is confusing, but I take it that it refers to me as I'm the one who have done the presentation. With regard to the question of the parliamentary banning, the case in the Western Cape, on the investigation itself, everything that needs to be done has been concluded. We have not been able to identify the other role players that may have assisted or worked with the suspect that has been placed before court. So that will continuously be something that we look at if there is evidence that comes forward to suggest that other role players have had a hand in. Otherwise, what is currently happening is that the accused person has been referred to for psychological observation, psychiatric observation, so that they determine the fitness of a person to stand trial, and also to determine as to whether at the time of the commission of the alleged offense, the person was in the correct compos mentis to differentiate between what is right and what is wrong, and to be able to act with such appreciation. So those are the 2 questions that the presiding officials have requested to the institution that are burdened with assessing the accused person to look at. Otherwise, once that is completed, we expect to go back to court. If he is fit and understand the processes, it will mean that the trial will start. And if he is found to be unfit, there comes the declaration of being a state president's patient. We will just wait and see what comes. But otherwise, with regard to the investigation, Honorable Chairperson, we have concluded everything that needs to be done. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Secretariat.
Thanks, Chairperson. Maybe for us, it's just to add on what Brigadier Bert had indicated. We can indicate that so far we have completed the draft regulations as he had indicated, and we will be briefing, consulting with the minister for us to have the regulations published for comments, and only after the regulations have been finalized can we have the president now to declare maybe the date on which the act can come into place, because, or rather into operation, because according to the act, this act can only come into operation together with the regulations. And this is a process that we are trying to make sure that it is sped up so that we don't have further delays in that regard. Thanks, Chairperson.
Thanks very much. Are you fine, honorable members?
Chairperson?
Yes.
Chairperson? Sorry, maybe I've missed it. I did put on the kettle, maybe I've missed it. I've asked a question on whether there was any reduction in copper theft on the moratorium by the Minister for Trade and Industry. Maybe I've missed it.
Okay. National Commissioner?
Thanks, Honorable Chairperson. We haven't done that comparison We will do it and we will advise the committee accordingly, Honorable Chair. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Can I take this advantage? I think everybody's happy. We're moving towards closure. How far is the IPID bill? Mr. Amaru?
Chairperson, the bill has been, Cabinet has approved that the bill be introduced to Parliament, and we have sent the necessary letters to Parliament in that regard.
Okay, okay. All right. Now, I think we are done with what we were supposed to do today. Let me, as I move towards closure, let me also send our condolences on behalf of the committee to the investigators who were killed. I think Dr. Levea, as he was starting to report, indicated that there are people who were investigating the suspects in Mamelodi, and one of them is killed, hence the memorial service today. Our condolences on behalf of the committee. The minister, as he was responding, indicated that there's a lot of work done by the police, a lot of successful work done by the police, although in some cases there are pockets of police officers who are corrupt. So whenever we deal with the reports from subs, we must not be look on one side. Let us look also on the positive side. In this regard, I would like to propose, of course, we'll be guided by the staff as to whether this is possible. I would like to propose that in one meeting, I don't know when, in one meeting, we request subs to come and give us the highlights of their successes and also report on what they regard as failures, but also expose to the Honorable Portfolio Committee that there are challenges when dealing with certain issues. Maybe if they can limit that to this period of the 6th administration, so that whatever is exposed to the public, successes are exposed to the public. If there are failures, they will report them. And if there are challenges that they face when doing their work, they will also report them. Maybe we can have a special meeting just to look at that so that we can appreciate the work done by the police officers. And I'll stand to be advised by the support staff whether that is possible, and we'll consult with members of the committee if we have to have such a meeting in the office of the minister. Having said that, honorable members, as this committee will continue to do oversight, especially on the report or progress made with regard to investigation as per the recommendation of the State Capture Commission. Tomorrow, as a portfolio committee, we are expected to submit a progress report to the House Chair, Mr. Frolick, on how far is the process. And the discussions today will be incorporated into that report so that Parliament is aware of how far are we in terms of progress with regards to such investigations. So your inputs today really assisted. They will enrich the report that will be submitted to Parliament so that members of Parliament are able to know how far are we, because without information, people will think nothing is happening. I think the presentations today, especially this presentation from DPCI, really indicated that a lot of work is being done in this regard. Having said that, I think we are done with the two reports. We are moving towards closure, unless if there's something critical that one would like to raise. If not, I'm going to close the meeting. Anything that one wants to raise? If there's nothing, then let me say the meeting stand adjourned. Thanks very much, Minister in absentia, Deputy Minister, National Commissioner, Doctor, Head of DPPI, Executive Director, Acting Secretary, together with your teams. Thanks very much for coming. Thanks very much, honorable members, for your time. The meeting stands adjourned. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thanks,
Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.